Shona Shekels with us this evening. She's given us some information regarding a proclamation naming October Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So I'd like to call on Shona, if you would, please give us some background about this and maybe tell us a bit about your organization and your work, please.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Heaton. I am Shona Shekels, and I'm the legal court advocate for victims of domestic violence with Springhaven Domestic Violence Program. We service the Lincoln Trail Ad District, and Nelson County is in our ad. We offer free services for victims of domestic violence. I provide advocacy and support during the emergency protection order, domestic violence order courts. Here in Nelson County, since we don't have family court, we have district court and circuit court. So I spend a lot of my time with Judge Kelly with these orders. And so I'm there for the victim. A lot of times victims of domestic violence cannot afford attorneys. And so we are in that spot. I'm not an attorney, but we are there as advocates for advocacy and support during that time for them. Also at Springhaven, we have a shelter that is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We house women and children on site. If we have any gentlemen in need of our services, then we can house them on site, or if they're not comfortable with that, we can make other arrangements for them. All of our staff is state certified by the Kentucky Domestic Violence Association out of Frankfurt. So we have to go through an internship, a year internship, which is followed by testing in order to be a victim advocate for victims of domestic violence. I have entered my 20th year as a victim advocate at Springhaven. A lot of people say, do you like your job? And I'm like, I love my job. I shouldn't, like I just said to one of the councilmen, I should not have a job. But I am so glad that our agency is able to help victims when they are in need. I'm in Nelson County on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I have court at 9 a.m. with Judge Kelly out at the courthouse for EPO hearings. And then the other times I am in my office meeting with clients, doing community engagements, presentations, things like I'm doing tonight throughout the county. And I also service Hardin County. So quite busy. But I just want to give you all just a few statistics before I close. Kentucky is the third highest state for DV, for domestic violence. That's not anything to be proud of, nothing. Our laws need to be strengthened a tad bit more. They really and truly do, to be the third highest in the United States. 20 people per minute are physically abused in the United States. That's a lot of people every minute of the day. 45.3% of Kentucky women and 35.5% of Kentucky men will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. 1 in 4 teenagers between the ages of 13 and 24, teenage women, will have been involved in some type of abuse by their 24th birthday. And so 1 in 3 high school young ladies will be involved in some sort of domestic violence situation prior to their graduation. And those are national statistics, but you know, Kentucky being the third highest in the United States for domestic violence is a tad bit embarrassing. So we really need to work together in our communities. We need to work together statewide to see if we cannot, you know, put some things in place to help victims of domestic violence not become murder victims, homicide victims. So with that, I guess my thing is that why I do this job, I do it to be that temporary voice for a person that has lost their voice. I'm not trying to take over their life or be a life coach or anything like that. But in the moments of domestic violence, I am there for them to be that temporary voice until they can stand on their own. Thank you.
Thank you, Shona, and thank you for bringing this information to us and sharing it with the public this evening. It's, yeah, those statistics are not one that you want to be one of the leading states in the country for some of those type of statistics. So we appreciate your work and bringing this information to us and sharing it with us this evening.
Thank you.
So we're going to we have a proclamation, which I'd like to have our city attorney read for us and ask the council to adopt it this evening and make it part of our record.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas home should be a place of warmth, unconditional love, tranquility, and security, and for most of us, home and family can indeed be accounted among our greatest blessings. However, for many American families, these blessings are tarnished by violence and fear. Tragically, these families are imprisoned by physical, financial, emotional, and verbal abuse. And whereas domestic violence is more than physical abuse and evidential pain, it also includes, but is not limited to, financial, emotional, verbal, sexual, and social abuse. According to the Kentucky Domestic Violence Association, every 15 seconds, a victim is experiencing abuse. And whereas many believe that battering is only a momentary loss of temper, but battering is the use of violence and other forms of abuse to establish control and power in a relationship. 1 in 5 female victims report having been battered over and over again by the same person. And whereas the problems of domestic violence are not confined to any group or groups of people, but they cut across all economic, racial, and societal barriers, women are not the only target. Men, children, and the elderly are also counted among the victims. And whereas it is battered women themselves who have been in the forefront of efforts to bring peace and equality to the home, now a coalition of organizations has emerged to directly confront this crisis. With the Springhaven Domestic Violence Program leading the crusade, law enforcement officials, healthcare providers, the clergy, and other concerned citizens are working together in the effort to end domestic violence. We must recognize the compassion and dedication of these volunteers and professionals and applaud their efforts. Now, therefore, I, J. Richard Heaton, Mayor of the City of Bardstown, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Bardstown, Kentucky.
Thank you, Audrey. I'd ask for a motion from one of the council members to approve this proclamation.
So moved,
I'll
Mayor.
take it.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Hart. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilman Hibbs. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor then signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Shona.
Shona, for all your work.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for joining
You'll
us
have a
this
good
evening.
evening. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Jessica could not be with us tonight, so we're gonna hold off on this change order on Round Creek till the next meeting. Excuse me. And then, so next we'll move on then to our city council minutes for our regular meeting on the 28th. And then we also had a hearing 10 minutes prior to that meeting. If there's no additions or corrections, we can approve them by unanimous consent. Okay. And been talking to Aaron, and we're going to start doing our financial reports more on a quarterly basis. Seems like sometimes there's not enough change and things in a month to make a whole lot of difference to report on. So I think we're going to start doing this on a quarterly basis. So he'll be giving us our third quarter report at the next meeting. Under ordinances, we have a second reading this evening. I'd like to have on the classification and compensation plan, I'd like to ask Audrey if she'd read the summary of ordinance B 2021-13.
Thank you, Mayor. Summary of Ordinance B 2021-13, Classification and Compensation Plan. An ordinance amending and adopting as amended an ordinance creating the Classification and Compensation Plan. This ordinance amends Chapter 35, Employment Policies, the Classification Plan and Compensation Plan of the Municipal Code by creating a new title, pay grade, number of authorized positions in the Public Works Department. The City Council of the City of Bardstown, Kentucky does hereby ordain that the amendments and additions reflecting the number of positions, title, and pay grade respectively are: number of positions, add 1, title, add sanitation supervisor, grade, add 112. All ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. This ordinance shall take effect immediately upon its passage, approval, and publication as required by law.
Thank you, Audrey.
Mhm.
This is a second reading. I would ask then for a motion to approve the ordinance B 2021-13.
So move.
Motion by Councilman Williams. Is there a second?
I'll second there.
It looks like Councilman Jones. Any discussion?
Got a question. Mayor, was this position advertised, or was it something we were planning on doing in-house?
I'll let Greg, we talked about that. I'll let Greg answer that. Your question is very timely. We've been talking about that.
Mayor Shekels, we're not going to advertise outside of the city for this position. I think we'll have enough interest internally. So I'm going to send out a notice tomorrow to all of our employees internally to see who's interested in that position, and we'll fill it in-house.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought you might have some good qualified candidates in-house, so that's,
Yeah, we do.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we feel they make the best candidates, Bill, because of their knowledge of our operation and so forth. And so we think that's the best way. And they don't know how to manage the group, just like we, promoted Craig Downs from within to head our Public Works Department. Craig's the new superintendent of Public Works after Ben Bird resigned to take a position in the private sector. So great to have somebody like Craig, who's 20 years experience, to move up to take over that spot with all his experience. And we think the same thing will happen here with the sanitation supervisor position. Okay, we have a motion and a second. This is a second reading, so I'll ask for individual votes, starting with Councilman Shekels, Councilman Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Williams,
Aye.
Councilman Buckman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hart,
Aye.
and Councilman Hibbs.
Aye.
All right, great. The ordinance is adopted. Thank you. All right, we have the Recreation Committee minutes. We've had a chance to read those. Would anyone care to just kind of give us any overview of the meeting and what we've read in the minutes?
Well, basically, Mayor, if I could, and Betty can embellish more. They were talking about the success of pickleball and how it's catching on more, and they're getting a lot of interest in that. And then, of course, the arts and crafts fair, where they have inside booths, the swimming pool. It's about what it was a little better than expected, considering it was coming out of a COVID year. And then we still have to set a time aside to the Rogers Park. We have to, of course, that wasn't part of our discussion, so let me back off of that. They talk about the success of the concert series. And then there's some new playground equipment coming in, and then just some other general programs. So it was a pretty good meeting. Unfortunately, one of our members was out of town, but we were able to survive without him. It was difficult, but we managed. I don't know if Betty wanted to add anything.
I think you covered it, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I think about the time of your meeting, I had gotten a call from another group of people who want to maybe rent the indoor space for a nighttime pickleball group of people wanting to play. So it really is taken on, and it's great that our facility, both inside and outside, can accommodate that now.
Yes, sir.
Good job. Thank you. Okay. Under new business, we have a municipal order, which was related to our ordinance we just adopted for our change in our classification and compensation plan. So I asked our city attorney to read our municipal order M 2021-07 as it relates to our public works position of sanitation supervisor.
Thank you, Mayor. Municipal Order M 2021-07, a municipal order creating the job description for the position of sanitation supervisor that was originally established in Ordinance B 2021-13. Whereas the city of Bardstown has established a new position in Ordinance B 2021-13 as listed below, Public Works Sanitation Supervisor. And whereas the city of Bardstown has created a job description for the new position established by Ordinance B 2021-13. Now, therefore, be it ordered by the City Council of Bardstown, Kentucky, that the new job description attached hereto be adopted in full to represent the true and accurate definition for the position available as an employee of the city of Bardstown. Introduced, seconded, and adopted at a duly convened meeting of the City Council of the City of Bardstown held on October 12, 2021, and on the same occasion declared it to be in full force and effect according to law.
Thank you, Audrey. Could I get a motion to approve a municipal order M 2021-07?
So moved, Mayor.
We have a motion by Councilman Hibbs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Buckman. Any other discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion's carried. Before we get into the next resolution, I'd like for Nahoma Yield to give us some background on this resolution for our ARPA grant, and then I'll ask for someone to introduce it, and we will read it and hopefully adopt it. So, Nahoma, if you would you please give us some background here?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So the state has a grant available for providers like ourselves to apply to help us serve unserved areas around and inside Nelson County. The deadline for this RFP that they put out is October 25th in 2021. And the resolution that we've got before you is to help us with that application. It's a pretty competitive application, but if we were granted some of those funds, that would be a great help in trying to meet the needs of customers in our area. And so the state wants to partner with local providers like ourselves and some of the national providers to see who can best serve certain communities with a broadband.
Okay, and Aaron, I think, don't we have to somewhat Nahoma was talking about, we have already budgeted some of our ARPA money for broadband purposes for this budget year. Is that correct?
That's correct. For this fiscal year, it's $500,000 of that ARPA money that came in for broadband expansion. And we got this ARPA money is a separate part of that overall legislation that came from the feds. So the city already received half of its allocated portion for that. But this is the money they're talking about here is a different portion of that in federal law.
This would be really great if we could get this additional grant approved to help us do a lot more over the next 2 years. So it'd be great. All right. If I could, I'd ask for one of our council members to introduce resolution R 2021-09, please.
Mayor, if I may, I'd be happy to introduce resolution R 2021-09, resolution pertaining to the ARPA money to aid in expansion of our broadband communication services. And please ask our city attorney to read same.
All right, thank you,
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Jones. Go ahead. Audrey.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilman Dunn. Resolution R 2021-9, a resolution supporting the American Rescue Plan ARPA grant application by the City of Bardstown, Kentucky, DBA, Bardstown Cable, Bardstown Connect to expand broadband communication services to areas in the City of Bardstown. Whereas the City of Bardstown has a responsibility to assist its citizens in securing the essential services for daily life, including reliable broadband services for education, healthcare, communication, interactions with government, farming and business operations, entertainment, commerce, and future uses yet to be developed. And whereas the need for broadband services is growing daily and the lack of broadband internet service is a major roadblock to attracting economic development. And whereas inquiries from residents support findings that portions of Nelson County, Kentucky, of which the City of Bardstown is the county seat, lack the current minimum speeds of 10 megabytes per second download and 1 megabyte per second upload as defined by the American Rescue Plan Act interim rule, and that reliable, affordable broadband service in some areas of Nelson County is non-existent, poor, or inadequate. And whereas the Commonwealth of Kentucky recently announced the opening of the application window for $50 million in American Rescue Plan ARPA broadband access grants, and Bardstown Connect wishes to apply for a grant as administered by the Commonwealth of Kentucky Finance and Administration Cabinet. And whereas the City of Bardstown operates a cable and internet service through its Bardstown Connect department, providing broadband internet service to residents of both the City of Bardstown and Nelson County. And whereas the City of Bardstown, on behalf of Bardstown Connect, has legal authority to apply for and or provide financial assistance and the institutional, managerial, and financial capability to ensure adequate project administration, and has not violated any federal, state, or local laws pertaining to fraud, bribery, graft, kickbacks, collusion, conflict of interest, or other lawful or corrupt practice. And whereas the duly elected officials of the City of Bardstown wish to provide this resolution of support for the ARPA grant application being submitted in 2021 to the Commonwealth of Kentucky by Bardstown Connect for funding to expand high-speed, reliable, and affordable broadband communication services in Bardstown. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Bardstown, DBA Bardstown Connect, hereinafter referenced as Bardstown Connect, will publicly support the Bardstown Connect grant application in its efforts to expand and upgrade the broadband infrastructure in the City of Bardstown, and hereby provides financial commitment to be added as or incorporated as sole matching required funds for the grant application in the amount of $500,000. Be it further resolved that Bardstown Connect will act as the legal sponsor for the projects contained in the Broadband Development Grant Program, and that the mayor of the City of Bardstown is hereby authorized to apply to the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority for funding of this project on behalf of Bardstown Connect, that the City of Bardstown certifies that it will comply with all applicable laws and regulations as stated in all contract agreements. Be it finally resolved that the undersigned is hereby authorized to execute such agreements as are necessary to implement the project on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you, Audrey. So we've introduced it, then I guess we do not need a formal vote on this resolution.
We usually do a vote, but just.
All right, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead then, and I need a motion to approve it. We've Councilman Jones introduced it.
Mayor, if I may be in order, I'd like to authorize the mayor to execute the resolution R 2021-09, and I make a motion to approve resolution R 2021-09 and authorize the mayor to execute this agreement on behalf of the City of Bardstown and Bardstown Connect.
All right, thank you, Councilman Shekels. We have a motion, and what about a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
All right, second by Councilwoman Hart. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. We don't have any cemetery deeds. Any members of the council have anything to bring before the council this evening?
Yeah, Mayor, if I could, I think that Gary has sent several pictures to your email address showing that the columbarium was placed today. If you've not had a chance to see it, it looks very, very nice. Obviously, we got the landscaping and that type of thing to finish, but it turned out like I think everybody hoped it would. But I also need to give credit where credit's due, because Gary and Lisa have done almost all the legwork on this, and thank them very much for that. And after about, I think it's like 13 years we've been talking about this. So it finally came to fruition. So, and it looks nice. I think you'd be proud of it if you go by and look at it.
Yes. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
I saw them when I went by there this morning on the way to work, and they were getting ready, and then by noon they had it set. So at least by 1 o'clock they had it set. So that was great. It does look good, and they did a lot of work preparing for it. And good job by all on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other council members have anything to bring before the council this evening? I know there's, matter of fact, I was on the phone 2 or 3 times today about Halloween events. Halloween Sunday this year, so Sunday will be the official Halloween day. But there are a number of events, I think, planned on Friday, the 29th. As is usual, our Main Street group and our downtown merchants are planning a trick-or-treat event from 4 to 6 downtown. And so the kids can come and go from each business, and business owners pass out candy and treats. So that will be going on Friday the 29th. And I think some other trunk and treats and church organizations have some other events that night as well. But Halloween will be on Sunday, since it's a day off for most people. That's probably the easiest way to handle that. Have Halloween fall on Halloween. And, might stretch out over 2 or 3 days prior to that. And then speaking of events, I just want to take a moment to, and I'll probably miss some people, so I apologize if I do, but I think it should be noted that we have been blessed by 3 really, really great events that have been held here in Bardstown over about the last 30 days, starting with our annual street concert uptown, then the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and then most recently this past weekend with our annual Arts and Crafts Fair. And so we were blessed with good weather on all 3 days of those events, or 3 weekends of those events. Well attended. I don't think we had any real major problems, other than, you know, the town was very full and busy, both for the Bourbon Festival as well as our Arts and Craft Festival. And that's the norm, and that's what we're always hoping for. And our city really did a great job in hosting those events. And hats off to the Main Street organization with the street concert, Kentucky Bourbon Festival, of course, with the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, that board, and then Main Street again coming back and putting together the Arts and Craft Festival. And so I know a lot of volunteers and a lot of members of those committees and boards really worked hard to make those work. And I want to thank all of them, but also need to thank the city of Bardstown. Our staff has a lot of involvement with those events, you know, everything from security and traffic control, you know, our public works department helping get the streets blocked off, the police and fire department standing ready to provide security and safety when and if anyone was injured or needed some safety. And our recreation department is involved, and then public works, as I said earlier, has to do a lot. Sanitation has to be working extra hours to pick up some of the extra garbage that happens on those weekends. So just a great job by everyone. And then the rest of us here at City Hall, we sort of had to work around some of those events as always, as we provide space here at City Hall for those events to be held. And we're happy to do it. Sometimes it's somewhat of an inconvenience, but it all turned out really good this year. And don't want to forget Buttermilk Days. That was a little bit before all that, but they once again, after 1 year being off. That was also another great event that helped our community show itself to out-of-town visitors, but also a great event, as all these were, for our locals to take part in as well. So I want to thank everybody for that. That's really all I got on the mayor's report. Does anyone have anything else to bring before the council this evening? If not, then I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All
Oh,
right, I
me too.
see Joe Buckman.
That was me first,
And then I think Councilman Williams on the second.
I believe it was.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?